Hello, I'm Richard Murphy. I was asked recently what I thought the tax justice movement in the UK should be doing in the future. If you look at what it's actually doing, a lot of it has been consistent for many years. It's been campaigning for corporate tax reform, it's been campaigning for transparency around tax havens, it's been arguing that we need to know who the owners of companies are so that we can hold them to account for their actions. And all of those are really valuable things, including, as part of that, the campaign for country-by-country reporting accounting so that we know what multinational companies do in every country where they operate. Now, I'm not apologising for any of those things because I was involved in that for a long time. But every single campaigning organisation and movement needs to have new ideas. And so I've got a number of new ideas for tax justice that I want to explore. One of them is a very simple transformation, in the UK at least, of the way in which our tax authority is run. HM Revenue and Customs is an odd beast. It's a government department. It has no minister who is directly responsible for it, so no minister can directly interfere in its affairs. It is sort of accountable to the Treasury, but actually has two permanent secretaries who substitute for there being a minister who is directly accountable for what it does. And what it is actually is something like, frankly, a private limited company. It actually structures itself as if it is like a private limited company. It is run by a board, and that board, which is made up of roughly half civil servants and half non-executive directors, is designed to look very much like the board of a large public company, like, for example, Marks & Spencer's or Tesco's or whoever else you might think of shopping with. The corporate model of governance requires that a company be run by insiders, those who are there day to day, so a chief executive, perhaps a chairperson, and a finance director, and a marketing director, and an IT director, and so on, who've got responsibility for how the organisation actually works. And then a series of outsiders called the non-executive directors. And the non-executive directors are meant to ask awkward questions of the executive directors who run the organisation and look at the whole thing critically, ask appropriate questions and make sure that it is meeting the needs of its customers and its shareholders and those to whom it's accountable. Why is that model appropriate to HM Revenue and Customs? Well, in many ways, you could say it isn't. After all, this is a public institution. It isn't a private company. We know that it's rather oddly structured and that it thinks itself a private company because it calls us its customers. I don't know a single person who thinks they are a customer of HM Revenue and Customs, by the way. Not a single person believes they have that relationship with them. We're not buying tax services from them, we are making payment to it. Sometimes we're making a claim from it, but even then we're not a customer, we're a claimant. So the whole structure appears to be wrong, and it's not accountable. After all, that board structure, which is used by a public limited company, is designed to be accountable to shareholders. But actually, we don't even know for certain who HM Revenue and Customs is accountable to. Sort of Parliament, sort of indirectly, through the Public Accounts Committee, sort of, and sort of to ministers in the Treasury, but only sort of, so that nobody can interfere with its operations and therefore inquire about an individual person's tax affairs. All of this is incredibly vague, incredibly inappropriate in the 21st century when we need an efficient tax service that meets the needs of people in this country. I believe that one of the demands of the tax justice movement should be that we have an overhaul of our tax authority. It should become accountable. There should be a Ministry of Tax, responsible for how tax is run, responsible, for example, for accounting for how tax reliefs and allowances are used. They cost over £400 billion a year in total, eliminating 1/3 of the potential total tax take in this country, and yet nobody is answerable for decisions on whether they are appropriate or not. There should be a minister who accounts for what would be, if it was allocated to a single person's responsibility, the largest spender in the whole of government. There should be a board who do manage HM Revenue and Customs, but not one that is made up like the existing board, which is literally one that copies the structure of public limited companies, as I've said, like Marks and Spencer's or Tesco's or whoever. The current board is made up of people who work for HM Revenue and Customs, and the rest, the non-executive directors, are all drawn from large businesses. We've had absurd situations where partners from the largest firms of accountants, KPMG and PricewaterhouseCoopers, for example, have been on the board of HM Revenue and Customs at the same time as they've been criticised for their tax avoidance activity. We've had Barclays with representatives on the board of HM Revenue and Customs at the same time as they were being accused of being heavily involved in tax haven activity and quite abusive tax practices. Now, this doesn't make sense. Why should one small sector of the tax-paying community, large business, be represented in the running of our country's tax affairs when everybody else is ignored? Why is there no pensioner on the board of HM Revenue and Customs pointing out the difficulty that many pensioners have in getting their tax affairs right when they have multiple sources of income? Why is there nobody from charity? Because charities have significant interactions with HM Revenue and Customs. Why is there no employee of HM Revenue and Customs there? Isn't this a time when there should be somebody from the workforce of HMRC there to represent those who actually are doing the day-to-day work, who have a very different view on many occasions as to how the organisation works than the senior management does? Why is there no representative of smaller business? Surely there should be. The self-employed, employees, literally employees beyond HM Revenue and Customs, but who have to interact with the system and who have valuable input to make. Are we really saying that none of these people have no experience to offer, nothing to add in terms of value to HMRC, nothing that they can say which wouldn't improve its relationship with all of us as taxpayers? I don't believe that. I think it's essential that actually HM Revenue and Customs become an organisation aimed at servicing the community of this country. And it can only do that if its management literally has people from the community in this country sitting on its board. There is a real need for change. And if the tax justice movement wants to change tax in the UK, it has to change the tax authority as well. I'm Richard Murphy. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this video series on YouTube if you're interested. Also look for us on Facebook. I am on Twitter @RichardJMurphy. And at the same time, look at my blog, Tax Research UK, where you can find much more on these themes. And I'll see you again soon.